The stars above Valeria Prime shone like tiny crystals in a deep blue sky. The Interstellar Academy stood tall on a green hill, its silver towers glowing under the soft light of 3 moons. It was a place where students from many worlds came to learn and live together. Humans, aliens, and other species all shared classrooms and dorms. It was a place of peace and discovery. Lyra was one of the top students at the academy. She was from Valeria Prime and looked different from humans. Her skin was pale cyan, her hair soft violet, and her eyes glowed with a pale lavender light. She was smart, graceful, and full of energy. Many students liked her and wanted to be her friend. But Lyra liked to joke and tease others, especially the ones who were quiet or different. One day, a new human student arrived at the academy. His name was Jason. He was from a small town on Earth, a planet many aliens found strange and simple. Jason had short brown hair, light skin, and always wore simple clothes. He did not talk much and looked nervous around the other students. When Lyra first saw him, she laughed quietly. "Look at the new Earth boy," she said to her friends. "He looks like he walked out of a storybook." Jason heard her, but he said nothing. He gave a small smile and kept walking. Lyra kept watching him during class. He always sat near the back, took careful notes, and never raised his hand. He did not have many friends, and he ate lunch alone. Lyra felt a strange mix of amusement and curiosity. Why was he so quiet? Why did he never react to her jokes? One day, during an art class, the students were asked to draw something from their home world. Lyra drew a beautiful sky tree from Valeria, using glowing colors and flowing lines. Everyone clapped when she finished. Then it was Jason's turn. He showed a simple pencil sketch of an old wooden house and a dog sitting outside. The picture was plain, but clean. Lyra smiled. "That's it? Just a house and a dog? Where's the color, the light, the magic?" Some students laughed, but Jason only nodded. "This is my home," he said quietly. "It means something to me." Lyra felt a little confused. She expected him to be angry or embarrassed, but Jason stayed calm. After class, she walked up to him. "Do all humans draw like that?" Jason shrugged. "Not all. Some draw better. Some draw worse. I just draw what I remember." Lyra tilted her head. "You're strange." "Maybe," Jason said, smiling. From that day on, Lyra began teasing him more. She would ask him strange questions, like if Earth people still rode horses or used fire to cook. Jason always answered politely, never showing anger or sadness. "Do humans really sleep for 8 hours?" she asked one day. "Sometimes more," Jason replied. "We like dreams." "Dreams?" Lyra laughed. "We use memory crystals. Much easier." Lyra's friends started to notice. "Why do you talk to him so much?" one of them asked. "He's fun to poke at," Lyra said with a smile, like a quiet puzzle. But deep inside, Lyra started feeling something else. She wanted to understand why Jason was so calm, so different. Most people would get upset if someone teased them every day, but not Jason. One evening, she saw him sitting alone in the garden, looking at the stars. "You like the stars?" she asked, sitting beside him. "Yes," Jason said. "They look the same on every world." "That's nice." Lyra looked up too. The stars twinkled gently above them. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. "Sometimes," Jason said, "but I want to learn new things. That's why I'm here." Lyra didn't tease him that time. She just nodded. That night, she thought about Jason more than she expected. There was something about him that was different. And it wasn't just because he was human. Maybe Earth had more secrets than she thought. The next day at the Interstellar Academy, the sun rose behind the silver towers, lighting up the bright school gardens. Students from many planets walked through the open courtyards, talking, laughing, and getting ready for their morning lessons. Lyra sat with her friends in the common area. She was in a good mood. She had spent the night thinking about Jason, the human boy. He was still a mystery to her. He did not react to teasing, and he seemed too calm for someone so far from home. "I have an idea," Lyra said, her eyes shining. "Let's see what the Earth boy can really do." "What do you mean?" asked a friend Mina, a girl with green skin and golden eyes. We challenge him, Lyra said. We have a cultural showcase next week. Every species must show something special from their world. I want to see what he'll bring. Let's make it fun. Her friends laughed and agreed. Lyra stood up and walked over to where Jason sat, quietly reading a small book. Jason, she said with a smile, I want to make a deal. Jason looked up, surprised but calm. What kind of deal? You and I will both present something from our cultures for the showcase, Lyra said. A small challenge. Let's see who can impress the class more. Jason thought for a moment. I don't mind. That sounds fair. No turning back, Lyra said with a grin. I hope Earth has something worth showing. Jason smiled a little. We'll see. The news spread fast. Soon, students from many different planets were talking about the friendly challenge between Lyra and the human boy. Some thought it was just a joke. Others were curious to see what Jason would do. Lyra began working right away. She chose a famous Valerian art form called mind meld painting. It used light energy and thought waves to create moving pictures in the air. It was beautiful and difficult. Even many Valerians found it hard to do. Every evening, Lyra practiced in the studio, focusing her energy and thoughts. The pictures she created floated in the air like glowing dreams. Shapes of her home world, animals from her planet, and colors that changed with emotion. Students came to watch her practice. You'll win for sure, Mina said. Nothing can beat Valerian art. Lyra smiled but said nothing. She was confident, but part of her was still curious about Jason. He had not said what he was planning. He spent time in the library, looking at history files and old videos. Sometimes he sat in the garden, writing notes in a small notebook. The night before the showcase, Lyra walked past the music room. She heard a strange sound. It was soft and sad, like a voice without words. She opened the door a little and saw Jason inside. He was holding a strange object made of wood and strings. His eyes were closed, and his fingers moved gently over the strings. Lyra listened quietly. She had never heard anything like it. The sound touched something deep inside her. It felt like a story without pictures, like a dream she could not explain. She closed the door and walked away, feeling strange. The next morning, the students gathered in the main hall for the showcase. Lights glowed above the stage, and teachers from many worlds sat in front, ready to watch and judge. Lyra went first. She stood in the center of the stage, took a deep breath, and began. Her mind-meld art filled the air with color and light. Images moved and danced. A Valerian forest, the rising suns of her home, her family, and her favorite pet bird. The students clapped loudly. Even the teachers looked impressed. Then it was Jason's turn. He walked to the stage carrying the wooden object. He sat on a small stool and placed it on his lap. This is a guitar, he said simply. It's a musical instrument from Earth. Music is one of our oldest ways to tell stories and share feelings. He began to play. The sound was quiet at first. Then it grew. It was full of emotion, joy, sadness, hope, and love. The hall became silent. No one moved. Even the floating lights above seemed to glow softer. Lyra watched from her seat, her eyes wide. She felt something inside her heart, a memory, a feeling, something she could not explain. When Jason finished, the room stayed quiet for a moment. Then everyone began to clap. Some students stood up. Even the oldest teacher wiped a tear from his eye. Jason gave a small smile and walked off the stage. Lyra stood still. For the first time, she had no joke, no teasing words. She just watched Jason, the quiet boy from Earth, and wondered what other secrets he was hiding. After the showcase, the academy was filled with talk about the human boy and his music. Students from many planets asked Jason questions. Some wanted to know more about the guitar. Others wanted to know how music could make them feel such deep emotions. Jason always answered kindly, but he did not enjoy too much attention. He preferred to stay quiet and let others talk. Lyra, however, could not stop thinking about what she had felt during Jason's performance. The music had touched something inside her heart. It was not just beautiful. It felt real. She had never felt something like that from any Valerian art, not even from the finest mind melds. She found Jason in the garden the next day. He was sitting under a tree, writing in his notebook again. Lyra walked up slowly and sat next to him. "Your music was different," she said. Jason looked at her with a calm smile. "Thank you. I'm glad you liked it." Lyra stared at the sky for a moment. It made me feel strange, like I remembered something I never knew. Jason nodded. "That's what music can do. It doesn't always tell a clear story, but it speaks to feelings." Lyra looked at him. "We don't use music like that on Valeria. We have sounds and tones, but they don't carry emotions like yours did." "Maybe it's just different," Jason said. "On Earth, music is everywhere. We use it to celebrate, to cry, to remember." Lyra was quiet for a while. Then she asked, "Will you teach me?" Jason seemed surprised. "Teach you music?" She nodded. "I want to understand more. Not just the sound, but the feeling." Jason smiled. "All right, we can start with simple things." From that day on, Lyra and Jason began to spend more time together. He showed her how to hold the guitar, how to place her fingers, and how to make the strings sing. At first, it was hard for Lyra. Her fingers were not used to the shape of the guitar. She made many mistakes, but Jason was always patient. "It's okay to be slow," he said. "Music is not a race." Lyra listened carefully. She began to enjoy the sound of the strings, even when they were not perfect. Slowly, she started to feel the music, not just play the notes. In return, Lyra showed Jason how to use energy threads to draw images in the air. Jason found it very strange at first. He had never seen pictures move and glow without any machine. But Lyra guided him step by step. "It's like painting with light," Jason said one day. "But it's alive." Lyra smiled. "Yes, it shows our thoughts and memories. But now, I think music shows something deeper." They laughed and learned together. Some students noticed their friendship and started asking questions. "Are you two becoming close?" Mina asked Lyra one day. "We're learning from each other," Lyra replied. "And he's not so strange anymore." Mina raised her eyebrows. "You never wanted to learn from anyone before." Lyra thought about that. It was true. Before Jason came, she had always been the best. She never looked for help. But now, she wanted to understand something new, something human. One afternoon, as they sat by the garden pond, Lyra asked, "Why do you always stay calm, even when people laugh or tease?" Jason looked into the water. "Where I come from, people don't always understand each other. If I got angry every time, it wouldn't help, so I try to listen." Lyra nodded slowly. "That's hard. I usually speak before I think." Jason smiled. "You're honest. That's not a bad thing." Lyra smiled back. She felt lighter when she was with Jason. She did not have to pretend or act strong. He never judged her. He only listened, and sometimes that was enough. As the days passed, more students began to watch them. Some joined their sessions. Others just listened to the soft music coming from the garden. Even some teachers began to notice. One of them, a tall alien with silver eyes, said, "This is what the academy was built for. Different minds learning together." Lyra began to understand something important. It was not about winning or being better. It was about sharing, about growing, and about feeling things that connected all beings, no matter their planet. And as she sat next to Jason, her fingers learning to move over the strings, she knew something had changed. The human boy she once teased was now her friend. And maybe, just maybe, he was teaching her something more important than any lesson in the classroom. Lyra woke up early. Her room was quiet, and the soft morning light came through the window. She looked at the small guitar Jason had made for her. It rested on a table beside her books. She smiled. Her fingers still felt a little sore from practice, but she didn't mind. Every day, she felt closer to something new. She dressed quickly and went to the garden. Jason was already there, sitting under the same tree. He was tuning his guitar. When he saw her, he gave a small wave. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," Lyra replied as she sat down. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes," Jason said. "I had a good dream. I think your energy drawings are starting to affect my sleep." Lyra laughed. "Maybe they help your brain make better pictures." They started to play together. Lyra followed Jason's notes slowly. Her music was still rough, but it was getting better. Jason listened carefully and corrected her gently. After a while, they stopped and rested. Lyra looked at Jason. Jason, why did you come here? To this academy? Jason thought for a moment. I wanted to learn. Earth is still new to space life. Many people don't understand aliens. Some are afraid, but I was always curious. I wanted to see for myself. Lyra nodded. Were you afraid? A little, Jason said, but more excited than afraid. Lyra looked at the sky. Many Valerians think humans are weak or simple. I used to think that too. Jason smiled. Maybe we are simple in some ways, but sometimes simple things are strong. That afternoon, their class had a lesson on history. The teacher, a wise alien named Oral, spoke about the early meetings between humans and other species. Many of you know the stories, Oral said, but some stories are not told often. One such story is about a small town on Earth that made the first peaceful contact with alien visitors. It was not a government or a big city. It was a quiet place full of simple people. Lyra looked at Jason. He was staring at the screen, quiet but focused. The aliens landed by accident, Oral continued. Their ship was damaged. The humans could have reacted with fear, but they didn't. A boy helped them. He gave them food, water, and even music. Lyra's eyes widened. She turned to Jason. Was that you? Jason didn't answer right away. Then he nodded slowly. Yes, that was my town. The room became silent. Even the teacher looked surprised. You were part of that event? Jason looked a little uncomfortable. Yes, I was the one who played music for them. It helped calm them. They said it reminded them of home. Oral nodded with respect. That moment changed many things. It showed that humans could offer more than power or technology. They had heart. Thank you for sharing, Jason. After class, many students came to talk to Jason. Some wanted to know more about the story. Others thanked him. Lyra stayed quiet, walking beside him. Why didn't you tell anyone? She asked. I didn't want to be treated like someone special, Jason said. I just wanted to learn like everyone else. But that's amazing, Lyra said. You helped make peace between two worlds. Jason looked at her. You have done the same. Lyra shook her head. Maybe not before, but now maybe. They sat by the fountain in the main hall. Lyra watched the water dance and thought about everything she had learned. Music, emotions, kindness. These things were powerful. And Jason had shown them to her, not with loud words, but with quiet actions. You're not like anyone I've met, she said softly. Jason smiled. You're not like anyone I've met either. Lyra felt a warmth in her chest, not just from friendship, but from respect. Jason had come from a simple place, but he had done something great, and he never asked for praise. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. She thought about her first days with Jason, how she had laughed at him, how she had called him strange. Now she felt ashamed of that. She had judged too quickly. The next morning, she brought Jason a small gift. It was a memory crystal from her childhood, filled with the sounds of her home planet. For you, she said, so you can hear where I come from. Jason took it gently. Thank you, Lyra. This means a lot. They listened to the sounds together, and in that moment, they both understood something deeper. It was not just about where you came from. It was about how you shared your world with others. The next few days at the academy passed peacefully. Students returned to their studies, but many still spoke about Jason's story. Some began to see humans in a new way. Others were still unsure. But one thing was clear, Jason had earned respect. Lyra and Jason continued to meet every day. They practiced music in the garden, traded stories, and talked about their worlds. Sometimes other students joined them. A few brought their own instruments. One girl from the moon of Pella played a harp made of wind. A boy from a desert world played drums made from crystals. Soon, the garden became a place of shared sounds and peaceful feelings. Lyra felt proud, not just of herself, but of Jason. She no longer saw him as the quiet boy from Earth. She saw him as a friend and a bridge between different lives. She was also learning more about herself. One afternoon, Jason showed her a small paper book. It was old and a little worn. The pages were filled with short poems. "These are poems," he said. "My grandfather gave me this. He told me poems can show feelings like music." Lyra read a few lines. The words were simple but deep. She could feel the emotions hidden in the spaces between the lines. "I didn't know words could do this," she said. "We call it poetry," Jason said. "You don't need bright colors or loud sounds, just quiet truth." Later that week, the Academy announced a cultural evening. Students could perform, share art, or show something special. Lyra wanted to join. But this time, she didn't want to go alone. She found Jason sitting in the library. "Let's perform together," she said. Jason looked up. "What should we do?" "You play music," she said. "I'll share one of your poems with my energy drawings." Jason thought for a moment and smiled. "That sounds perfect." They practiced for 3 days. Lyra memorized one of the poems. She turned each line into a glowing image with her energy. Jason matched his guitar to the mood of each picture. They worked quietly, side by side, learning how to mix their styles. On the evening of the event, the hall was full. Students and teachers sat together, waiting to see the performances. Lights dimmed and the first student stepped on stage. There were dances, songs, and even a short comedy act by a group of Martian twins. When it was their turn, Lyra and Jason walked to the center of the stage. The room fell silent. Jason began to play a soft tune. The sound was calm and slow. Then Lyra stepped forward and spoke the first line of the poem. As she did, a glowing image appeared in the air behind them. It was a picture of a quiet hill with one tree. Line by line, Lyra read. With each word, she created more images: a river, a bird in flight, a child sitting alone in a sky full of stars. Jason's music wrapped around the images like a blanket. Together, they made something beautiful. When the last line was read and the music faded, the room stayed quiet for a moment. Then the clapping started. It grew louder and louder. Some students stood up. The teachers nodded in approval. Lyra looked at Jason and smiled. He smiled back. They had done something special. After the event, many students came to talk to them. "That was beautiful," said a girl with glowing eyes. "I never knew words and light could work so well together." "You two make a good team," said another student. Even Oral, the wise teacher, spoke to them. "What you showed tonight is the true heart of the Academy. Different worlds working together. Well done." Lyra felt a warmth in her heart. She had always been proud of her skills. But now, she felt something better: connection. She and Jason had built a bridge between their worlds. Later that night, they sat again in the garden. "Did you think it would go this well?" Jason asked. "No," Lyra said, "but I'm glad it did. I think I understand now." "Understand what?" Jason asked. "That being strong doesn't mean being better than others," she said. "It means learning, sharing, and growing together." Jason nodded. "That's what I've always believed." The stars above them twinkled. The garden was quiet except for the soft sound of wind through the trees. Lyra leaned back against a tree and closed her eyes. "Thank you, Jason," she said. "For what?" "For helping me see the world in a new way." Jason smiled. "You helped me too. I think we're both learning." And in that peaceful moment, under the same stars that shone over both Earth and Valeria, two students from different worlds sat together, not as alien and human, but as true friends. The days after the cultural evening felt different at the Academy. The garden, once a quiet place, had become a center of music and ideas. Students came from every part of the school, bringing songs, stories, and art from their worlds. Lyra and Jason sat in the middle of it all, welcoming everyone with open hearts. Lyra felt proud of what they had created. It was more than just a performance. It was a feeling. She noticed how students who had never spoken to each other before were now laughing, sharing, and learning together. It made her believe that even small actions could start big changes. One morning, as the sun rose over the Academy towers, Jason handed Lyra a folded paper. She opened it carefully. Inside was a poem, short, simple, and written just for her. "Your light changed my sky," it said. Lyra looked up. Jason smiled. I wanted to say thank you, he said. Not just for performance, but for everything. Lyra felt a warm wave of emotion. No, Jason. Thank you. You've shown me a side of life I never knew. They sat quietly for a while. The sound of music floated from a nearby student group. Birds flew over the trees. The academy was alive with color and harmony. But not everyone felt the same. In another part of the school, a small group of older students watched the garden with cold eyes. One of them, a tall alien named Drell, crossed his arms. This place used to be for the best, he said. Now it's just soft songs and silly games. Another student nodded. They're changing the academy. It's not like before. Drell's voice was sharp. We need to remind them who belongs here. Later that day, Lyra walked into her room and found her memory crystal on the floor. It was cracked. The sound inside, her home, her past, was broken. She held it in her hands and felt a deep sadness. Jason found her sitting on the steps outside, holding the broken crystal. What happened? He asked. Someone broke into my room, she said softly. They destroyed my memory crystal. Jason's face became serious. Do you think it was an accident? Lyra shook her head. No. Someone wanted to hurt me. Maybe because of our performance. Jason sat beside her. I'm sorry, Lyra. You didn't deserve that. Lyra looked at him, her eyes full of pain. I don't want to stop what we're doing, but now I'm scared. Jason placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to stop. You have a voice, and it matters. That's why they're afraid. The next day, Oral called a meeting in the central hall. Students filled the seats, whispering about what had happened. Oral stood in front of them, calm and strong. This academy was built for unity. We will not let fear break that. We will find who did this, but more than that, we must stay together. Lyra and Jason spoke too. Lyra held up the broken crystal. This was a part of my past, she said. Someone tried to silence it, but I will not be silent. My memories live in me, and I will share them in new ways. Jason stepped forward. Kindness is not weakness. Music is not noise. Stories are not useless. These things connect us, and no one could destroy that. The room was quiet for a moment. Then students began to clap. One by one, they stood up in support. That evening, Lyra returned to the garden. Jason was there, waiting. He handed her a small device. What's this? She asked. A music player, he said. I made it from old parts. I recorded the sounds from your crystal before it broke. I wanted to keep them safe. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She pressed play. The sounds of her home filled the air. Soft winds, bird calls, and the laughter of her family. She hugged Jason tightly. You brought it back. You never lost it, he said. It was always inside you. That night, the garden was full again. Students played music, told stories, and danced under the stars. The broken crystal had become a symbol of strength. From that pain, something new had grown. Hope. Lyra stood in the center and looked around. She saw faces from many worlds, sharing one space, one moment. She picked up her guitar and began to play. Jason joined her, and the others followed. Their song rose into the sky, gentle and strong. And even in the dark corners of the academy, those who once stood apart listened. Something was changing, and no one could stop it. The days passed quickly at the academy. What started as a small friendship between a human and an alien had now become a quiet movement. The garden was still full of music, stories, and light. Students from many planets came to share their culture and listen to others. For the first time, the academy felt like a home to everyone. Lyra and Jason were at the center of it all. They still practiced their music and poems. But now, they also helped others tell their stories. They taught younger students how to create, not just with skill, but with feeling. One evening, the head teacher of the academy made a surprise visit to the garden. He was an old alien with deep blue skin and eyes like glass. He watched the students play music and drew glowing pictures in the air. When the music ended, he stepped forward. This place, he said, has become more than a garden. It is a place of heart. I have seen many things in my life, but never have I seen so many different people come together with such peace. This change began with two students. Everyone turned to look at Lyra and Jason. The head teacher smiled. You reminded us that learning is not only about books and facts. It is also about listening, feeling, and sharing. For that, we thank you. Lyra felt her face grow warm. Jason gave a small nod. They didn't do it for praise. They had simply followed what felt right. Later, as they walked back to their rooms, Lyra looked up at the stars. Do you think we'll always be here? She asked. Jason thought for a moment. Maybe not, but the things we've done will stay. Like a song that keeps playing even after the music ends. Lyra smiled. I like that. But peace did not mean there were no more problems. Drell, the tall alien who had broken Lyra's crystal, was still at the academy. He no longer caused trouble, but he watched from the shadows. One day, he approached Jason alone in the hallway. You think music can fix everything? He asked. Jason looked at him calmly. Not everything, but it can help us understand each other. Drell's eyes narrowed. Understanding is not enough. This place used to be about strength. Now it's soft. Jason didn't raise his voice. Being kind doesn't mean being weak. It takes strength to care. Drell didn't reply. He turned and walked away. But Jason saw something in his face, not anger, but confusion. Later, Lyra asked Jason what had happened. He still doesn't agree with us, Jason said. But maybe one day he'll understand. Time moved on. The Academy planned a new event, one that would invite visitors from other planets. Families, leaders, and teachers would come to see what the students had built together. It was the biggest event the Academy had ever held. Lyra and Jason were asked to perform again. This time, they invited other students to join them. They wanted to show that it wasn't just about two friends. It was about everyone. They worked for days, creating a piece that mixed music, light, dance, and voice. Each student shared something from their world. The final piece was a song written by Jason and Lyra. It had no words, only music and light, but it spoke more than any speech could. On the day of the event, the main hall was full. Leaders from many planets sat in the front row. The lights dimmed. The stage came alive with color and sound. The performance began. One by one, students took the stage. There were drums from the desert world, wind harps from the moon of Pella, and energy drawings from Valeria. At the end, Jason played a guitar, and Lyra created a sky full of stars with her light. The room was silent as the music faded. Then, a wave of clapping filled the hall. Some people stood. Others had tears in their eyes. Afterward, the head teacher spoke to the visitors. This is what our future looks like, he said. Not one voice, but many. Not one story, but a song made of many stories. Jason and Lyra stood side by side. They looked at the crowd, at the smiles and the hope. We did this together, Lyra whispered. Jason nodded. Yes, and it will grow even when we leave. When the event ended, students gathered around them. Drell stood nearby. He looked at Lyra and Jason, then gave a slow nod before walking away. It was not a smile, but it was a start. That night, under the stars, Lyra and Jason sat in the garden once more. Do you think people will remember us? Lyra asked. They'll remember the feeling, Jason said, and they'll pass it on. The wind blew gently through the trees. The stars twinkled above. Two friends from different worlds sat in silence, knowing they had changed something, not just in the academy, but in each other, and that change would last.